This is Cage Minds Uncensored. I'm Micah Frankel. If you're just hitting play for the first time, this is where I rant. This is where I let my thoughts and feelings be known. I'll also recap the weekend that was, talk about the upcoming weekend, heck, talk about some breaking news because it's always happening on a Monday. So let's get to the weekend that was. First thing that happened on Saturday, because every event was actually on Saturday, you had Glory 53, Lily, France. You had a 4-man featherweight tournament on the UFC Super Fight Series, and you had Sergey Adamchuk, the former lightweight champion, cruising the victory with 2 decision wins. Yusuf Bulgari, a vicious body attack with a second-round TKO, and Cedric Doumbé made Tongtai Sisapinong look like nothing in a 33-second thrashing. You had Patapatrum Kimbute with a vicious head kick on the Glory 53 main card. I mean, pushes his opponent against the ropes, fires that left leg. The meeting of the shin to the forehead, devastating stuff there. You had Ziddine Hammerlane, vicious right hands getting the finish of Michael Dut. You also had Anis Missan. She is able to retain the Glory Super Bantamweight title, combinations and controlling most of the 5 rounds, at least 4 of them, all judges agreed upon. Sidichai, vicious kicks, vicious pressure, still the Glory lightweight champion, and Jafar Wilness just shocks Jamal Ben Sadiq with big power punches, getting a decision victory. Glory, still exciting striking. Glory 54 next on the horizon. You also had UFC action because the UFC card started next. So let's talk about that UFC event in Brazil. Marcus Pettis gets a rear naked choke to start the night off. You had some other big things like Jack Hermanson after being taken down and just mauled for 2 rounds by Talis Latis. Latis, tiring out, went for a desperation guillotine, ends up on bottom. Hermanson, one more time, showing off vicious, just devastating ground and pound in the mount. It's the one position you cannot be with Hermanson is under him. A vicious win, and you take out a former title challenger. Definitely a way to keep yourself in that top 15 mix for Hermanson. Ezekiel Zaleski dos Santos, you guys have got to have seen the kick by now. The Capoeira spinning side kick to the head that takes out Sean Strickland. Undefeated in the UFC. Think that makes him 6-0 now. A big fight has got to be on the horizon for EZDS. Easier than saying his whole name. Such an athletic guy. He's a welterweight. This welterweight division is so stacked. That was a great one to see. Davi Ramos getting the submission of Nick Hine, and the way that he was able from the Kimura position to fly around over top, take the back, and sink in that rear naked choke. Mastery and beauty of jiu-jitsu on a whole spectacular level. That was great to see. Alessio Olenek gets busted up by Junior Albini early, gets the standing, I don't even know, it's like an overarm control, tricks Albini into the takedown, and locks up the Ezekiel choke. One more time, Olenek hits his move. Olenek has called out Fabricio Verdum, and I would love to see that grappling matchup, them two go head-to-head. Cesar Ferreira did not like the leg kick and the body kick that Carl Roberson landed. Is able to take the fight to the ground and is able to cut through the half guard for the head and arm triangle choke submission victory. Cesar Ferreira, the Brazil Tough 1 winner. A big victory for him there. For the second time as the main card starts, Vitor Belfort gets caught with a front kick from the back rear leg to the face. Yes, Machida duplicates the Anderson Silva, and Vitor Belfort loses. That's 2 in a row for Machida, looking good at 185 pounds. Wins the Legends battle. Yes, it's what it was. They are both legends. Belfort, you wonder, was this really his last fight? I hope so. He didn't look great against Markar and was totally frozen against Machida. you always know with Belfort, because his speed, his explosion, he gets stuff done early. He was frozen in the lights, and Machida takes care of Belfort. John Lineker landed those heavy body shots, heavy hooks to the head, was a relentless pursuit of just violence against Brian Kelleher. Hands of Stone eventually wears down Kelleher. Officially 3:43 of the last round. It was body head all night long, and the accumulation of shots finally just chip away, and the knockout comes. A big win for Lineker. He says he wants to be the bantamweight champion of the world. Lineker trying to work his way back into that mix of title contenders. We know that Garbrandt and Dillashaw are going to be fighting for the title again in 227. We know that the Marlon Moraes Jimmy Rivera winner most likely will get the next title opportunity. Has John Lineker put himself in range to possibly fight Dominic Cruz? That could be a good one on the horizon. Mackenzie Dern misses weight awfully. 7 pounds. How disrespectful. She now says she's going to work with the UFC Performance Institute on making weight. I think she should just move up to flyweight, as she's had problems in 3 out of 7 or 3 out of 6 mixed martial arts contests with reaching the 116-pound weight limit for strawweight, that she should go up to flyweight, where 126 pounds would be enough and 123 would be great. But in the end, Amanda Bobby Cooper takes the fight. The boxer actually gets clipped by a big closed-eye winging haymaker from Mackenzie Dern. Dern then, with Cooper on the ground, is able to go to her bread and butter, her jiu-jitsu, a vicious rear naked choke for the finish, to the co-main event. As I talked about on the Mic with Mike Adams, Saturday on 610, The Sports Animal, 95.9 FM. If you guys check that out, I thought the speed and the combinations of Calvin Gastelum, that ability to defensively wrestle, would be the difference maker. Gastelum did get mounted, definitely lost that first round, and I thought was able to cruise to a victory in the second and third round. The accumulation of strikes, Jacare was tired. It was Gastelum landing that vicious left hand, pushing the action. A lot of toughness and guts shown by Jacare taking the abuse, but I thought it was clear the ref's not as convinced, as it's a split decision. Kelvin Gastelum, I believe, is in line now to take on the winner of Robert Whittaker versus Yoel Romero, coming up on June 9th in Chicago at UFC 225. A big win for Gastelum, who I always thought was a bunch of nonsense in his head when he kept saying that he wanted to go back down to welterweight because he couldn't hang with the upper echelon. I believe, something like 9-1, 10-1 now at 185 pounds. Own who you are. Don't kill your body to make weight. Have the energy to fight and positive results. Loving the guys that have moved up from lightweight to welterweight. Couldn't make the welterweight limit. A great move for Gastelum, and the results are proving it. Amanda Nunes obviously just throttled Raquel Pennington. Pennington did get a takedown in the second round, looked to have something going, but it was to no avail. For most of the night, it was the leg kicks, it was the combinations making Pennington think, and it was Nunes just lighting her up. The left leg, the right eye, a broken nose, takedowns at will, and an overall domination. We saw Pennington tell her corner after the fourth round, I'm done. They had Pennington go back out there for the fifth round. There is a controversy, and a lot of us would say the corner has to save the fighter. Tisha Torres, Raquel Pennington's fiance, took to social media, agreed with the coaches that Raquel would have regretted it, would have said she had more, that she was happier going out there, getting her face wrecked, a pool of blood coming out of her nose from getting ground and pounded. I guess the coaches did know better. In the end, we all try to say it's about fighter safety. A doctor could have said maybe the nose was too broken. We've seen weird things happen. When you hear the fighters saying they want to quit, you wonder maybe if the DI, if the official, do they have something to do with this fighter's quit? Just call the fight. I'm not sure what to do. I always like to err on the caution of safety, but I guess the thought of regret, the thought of in the moment, the thought of, no, I did have something, there is an argument for it, but I feel, a good enough amount of boxing matches, including The last two guys that Lomachenko beat, who we'll get to in a moment, his previous 2 victories before Linares this past weekend came as fighters stayed on the stool. So we've seen professionals do it. If Pennington really didn't want to fight, she didn't have to get off the stool. They could have called the fight. She got up, she tried. She got smashed. In the end, you have to do what's going to make you happy, and that's what she did. She got up and fought. There is a case to be made, though, when you say that stuff to your corner. And there's really a case to be made of it because we hear it. If nobody heard it, if it was literally just a conversation between her and her corner, nobody would care. But when that camera gets in there and the whole world can hear it, now it becomes a topic. So now it's something you got to talk about with your fighter beforehand so you don't get criticized. You can't talk about quitting. There is no quitting. Quitting doesn't exist. They didn't let her quit. Maybe they should have. They didn't. She seems happier for not doing it. But the controversy becomes, do you let the fighter quit? I've seen people bringing up that Trevor Whitman had to complain a whole ton to get Nate Marquardt's fight finished when he was getting torn up. And sometimes, I guess it's a fighter by fighter, case by case basis. And in the end, as Torres and Pennington said, the team knows the fighter best. So I guess we do rely on the team and say that they did make the right choice for their fighter. Amanda Nunes retains the title. With Holly Holm versus Megan Anderson happening at UFC 225, I feel like Cyborg could sit back and wait. Anderson beats Holm, shocks the world with the upset. Cyborg versus Anderson would have a lot of momentum, giving the opportunity for a Marion Renault or a Caitlin Vieira to take on Amanda Nunes. Those would be Amanda Nunes' options, or the big option is Cyborg. That is the big money option. That is the big fight. But you cannot forget that Renault and Vieira have both shown well-rounded skill sets and are both on win streaks here in this women's 135-pound division, earning their spots for an upcoming title shot. You also had on Saturday, Bellator, a lot of finishes on the card. Gaston Bolanos just devastating leg kicks of Malcolm Hill. Frank Trigg rightly calling the TKO referee stoppage due to the leg kicks. Malcolm could barely walk on him. Some sick submissions. Darren Wynn defeats Ahmed White. Wynn, a Daniel Cormier protege, a little DC. This was a catchweight bout. He's trying to get down to middleweight. DC, think about that, with power. Impressive showing then. You had Adam Piccolotti getting the rear naked choke of Carrington Banks. I thought the size of Banks and his wrestling pedigree would be too much. The grappling of Piccolotti shined through, gets that rear naked choke. Devastating way to get back into the win column after the 2 consecutive losses. Chet Congo, boring. I thought he was just going to put Ayala on the cage. Weirdly enough, Ayala actually went and engaged in the clinch battle himself to start this fight, but then kind of started telegraphing his big punches. Chet Congo, counter right cross, lights go out. First true knockout that Congo has had in Bellator, a 6-fight win streak. Why is this man not in the heavyweight Grand Prix? 6-fight win streak in Bellator, true heavyweight. He's not a former champion. He's not a loud talker. I don't know what they're doing. But Chet Congo, that was a big victory that needs to be acknowledged. Aaron Pico, those vicious body shots coming to play one more time. Quick work of Lee Morrison, 70 seconds in all. Paul Daly, after the first round, defending takedowns beautifully, wears a John Fitch coat for the second and third round. The best part of the fight is when Paul Daly in the third round is actually underneath John Fitch, booing him, telling him that Bellator's ratings are dropping because this is boring. Well, my sentiment's not echoed exactly because you have to acknowledge the beauty in the grappling aspect of mixed martial arts. A grinding affair of top control and punches that did not do damage. John Fitch picks up a big victory. I had it 29-28. Because of the lack of damage, but positional control. Finch with the big win. Daly says he's done with Bellator. Scott Coker would like to have him back. I'm unsure how this fight came together. Why does Daly, obviously not wanting to wrestle, accept a fight where obviously John Fitch is going to wrestle? I'm confused. I thought Ryan Bader would take out King Mo, or well, at least take down King Mo and win in the main event. I didn't think it would only last 15 seconds. Mo lands a right hook to the body. Bader fakes low, comes over the top with the left hand, right to the chin of King Mo, and Mo is flying back. Follow-up ground and pound. Ryan Bader, Matt Mitrione, the winner of that fight, moves on to the finals and is the heavy favorite to become the new Bellator heavyweight champion. Joe Warren has already been the Bellator 135 and 45 champion. Ryan Bader would equal the mark of winning belts in 2 weight classes and then even take it a step higher by being the champion at the same time. There's really nothing left at 205 pounds for Ryan Bader. He beat Vassell. He beat Phil Davis. With this win, King Mo has said he's going down to 185. Another great then addition to that 185 division where we're talking about John Salter. You're talking about having the Rafael Carvalho versus Gegard Mousasi title fight. And look at the win streak that Rafael Lovato Jr. has been on. Adding King Mo is another great acquisition to that division. But 205 pounds is just nothing. I don't know who they would have Bader defend his title against. It's going to be some random guy in a showcase fight. Heavyweight division. There's the 40-pound difference between Mitrione and Bader. How much does the wrestling play into effect? They are buddies. Either way, you have a bigger guy and a smaller guy looking to wrestle them as we head into the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix semifinals. Because don't forget, Chael Sonn's trying to get under Fedor Emelianenko's skin. So that was the weekend that was. Ryan Bader, overwhelmingly impressive. Same thing for Aaron Pico. Lee Morrison was 19-8. A 27-fight vet, and Pico just tore him up. Chet Congo probably deserves to be fighting Fedor Emelianenko and not Chael Sonnen. And also a head-scratcher to still think that Chet Congo is not even in the discussion for alternate because for some reason Roy Nelson versus Mirko Krokop has been given that right. Because Nelson's 1-1 in Bellator, and Krokop will be making his debut. But that's at Bellator 200, so we have to make it big because we have to make it mean something. Lomachenko, 12 fights into his professional boxing career and the 2-time Olympic gold medalist, is now a 3-time world champion, 3 different weight classes, fastest in history to do it, doing it 10 fights faster than Oscar De La Hoya. It really was something worth DVRing, something worth staying up after the pay-per-view because I watched everything this weekend to watch Lomachenko, his brilliance, the effectiveness of his movement, his footwork, the jab, the uppercut, and then that vicious bodywork that finished off Linares. Is he invincible? Obviously not. Lomachenko, he got frustrated, ran in, did get knocked down by a right hand, but was able to compose himself, get back up, clear his head, and go back to work like a technician. Something special watching a fighter who's that technical and that offensive while being that defensive. Something special there to watch from the Ukraine. So did check out some boxing, some kickboxing, some MMA this weekend. Also, we're going to have the local scene to talk about here in a moment, so that's still upcoming. But like we talked about, the biggest controversy was the corner wrong or the corner right in not stopping the fight? Pennington feels the corner was justified, that they did right. They did right by the fighter, and that's what really matters. Now, what's news going on in the world today? The news in the world of mixed martial arts today includes Eddie Alvarez-Justin Poirier rematch is official to headline UFC on Fox 30. I believe that's going to be in Calgary, Alberta, Canada on July 14th. My thought is, what did it take so long? Why did they both have to fight Justin Gaethje? Why did Poirier have to fight Pettis for this rematch to be made? It felt like after the no contest, this was a necessary, immediately this fight needed to be rescheduled. Not sure why it wasn't, but glad to hear it is. Jacare blames his loss to Gastelum on a bad weight cut. Well, everybody talks about weight cuts. Jacare's been fighting at 185 pounds for forever. Fighting there in Brazil where he is more at home than Calvin Gastelum. I don't like the weight cutting excuse. It was a bad matchup, a big victory for Calvin Gastelum. Again, I do believe with that one, he is the rightful number 1 contender. You have Pro Fighters League making some more announcements as Jake Shields versus Ray Cooper III will headline PFL 3 on July 5th in Washington, D.C. You also have names like Rick Story, Yuri Villafort, Paul Bradley, Akbar Nurmagomedov, the brother of Khabib Nurmagomedov, John Howard, Eddie Gordon, Goshmov Yumatov, Bruno Santos, Danilo Villafort, Borgan Velicic to compete at the card. Shields squared off against Cooper, the third's father, Ray Cooper, somewhere in the early 2000s in Hawaii. So a little bit of background there for you on that one. Full card, we'll see Akbar Nurmagomedov versus Pavel Kuch. You have Rick Story versus Yuri Villafort. Eddie Gordon versus Shamil Gazmatov. Yao Zeffirino versus Paul Bradley. John Howard versus Gashman Umatov. Herman Trinaldo versus Magomed Magakirov. Sabu Sky versus Bruno Santos. Lewis Taylor versus Anderson Govins. Andre Louis Labat against Rex Harris. Danilo Villafort against Abasvim Makhmedov. And Bjorn Velicic fights Jonathan Westland. So we have the welterweights and the middleweights coming up to take center stage for Pro Fighters League 3. The announcements for these events, the one thing that I'm loving about it, unlike what the UFC has done, is we are getting a full card. PFL 1, PFL 2, PFL 3. The full card is in place. They make these matchups. They're keeping the weight classes the same, doing 2 weight classes each event with the 6 weight classes they're having. I'm loving the way that the PFL is running these shows so far. Can't wait to see what happens with those $1 million tournaments. There's a UFC event this weekend. The UFC for the first time is in Santiago, Chile. UFC Fight Night 129. Unfortunately, Santiago Ponzinibbio is injured. Damian Maia steps up on short notice to take on Kamaru Usman. This is going to be a huge win for Usman. Sprawl and brawl, big puncher, follow the same formula as Tyrone Woodley, Cody Covington. Kamaru Usman will be victorious. Co-main event, Alexa Grasso, Tatiana Suarez, the former Ultimate Fighter winner Suarez, the Mexican boxer Grasso, the former almost Olympic wrestler Suarez. Suarez is going to score a huge victory. She is too good of a grappler to not be able to thwart the offense of Grasso. Light heavyweight division, there's only a couple shining stars coming up the ranks, and one of them is Dominic Reyes. Look for him to put on a show against Jared Cannonier. Been waiting for this for a long time. Andrea KGB Lee, the Invicta FC vet, the first ever LFA women's champion, makes her octagon debut. Veronica Mercado is going to be in for a fight against a stylish striker. Brandon Moreno, even though Ray Borg had to pull out, Moreno is still on the card, taking on Alexandre Pantoja, somebody that he spent Ultimate Fighter with. Who can get the victory? Pantoja, good jiu-jitsu, heavy-handed. Moreno, funkier, more active. They get into a scramble. Pantoja on paper has the better jiu-jitsu, but we've seen on paper what can the younger, hungrier fighter do. Another couple female fights are on the card, so you gotta love seeing that. And Enrique Briones, who a long time ago I got to interview, is taking on Frankie Saenz. So you got striker versus grappler. Can Saenz get back on the right path and get the fight to the ground? Enrique Barzola versus Brandon Davis. Barzola is going to be looking to get in the face and try to take this down. Davis likes to walk down his fighters and likes to attack with a bunch of strikes. It's a fun little fight night for the UFC. Not to mention Vicente Luque, who with that 12-6-1 record is unassuming, but has solid striking, solid grappling. Chad Laprise is kind of undersized at welterweight. Will he be able to stay out of the grappling range? Miguel Prazeres being forced up to welterweight meets Zach Cummings. Cummings has the more pure hands. Can he avoid getting stuck under Prazeres, who is probably under height but big strength at the 170-pound division? Again, a fun fight night, UFC Fight Night 129. Let's head on over real quick actually to UFC.com so I can tell you. I was just looking at the fight card running off how it's going to go. I can tell you that the early prelims are on UFC Fight Pass. It's a 3-fight card. You go over to FS2 for 4 fights, and you finish the night off with a 6-fight main card on FS1. Big opportunities for a couple great fighters. If you guys have a chance, and this is on a real serious issue, shared it across social media on Facebook and Twitter. The Borg family is still up in Denver, Colorado at the Children's Hospital. The son of Ray the Taz Mexican Devil Borg, his wife Amanda Borg, both fighters, So we know them, obviously. We've seen Ray in the UFC coming off that loss to Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Their son is still dealing with health complications, and there is a GoFundMe page if you guys are able to support them at all. The medical bills are piling up, and obviously for Ray and Amanda, the most prevalent thing is to be there with Anthony throughout the recovery process. So it's not like either one is in the spot where they're able to train, so they're able to fight. So if you guys are able to donate some and give a little bit, it'd be awesome if you're able to share that across social media. So there's a GoFundMe page up to support the payment of the Anthony Borg medical bills. There was also local events going on this weekend, as now we move over to some stuff closer to home. You had boxing up at Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino. Like a beast, in 21 seconds, Steve the Mean Machine Garcia picks up his professional boxing debut victory. Right uppercut was nasty. Left hook finishes the night off. Maurice the Hulk Jackson, who had a pleasure to talk to last week, his hand gets raised with a second round TKO. A decision victory for Aaron Martinez sees him win his second straight fight since that first career loss to Alex Holguin. Also had Antonio Tom Martinez being on the wrong side of a split decision against Gabriel Rodriguez. In Clovis, Aaron Angel Baby Perez rolls to 2-0, another stoppage, a big win for him. Derek Perez also has his hand raised, and then we go to the main event, where there is some controversy, and it appears that we already have a rematch on the way for August 4th. But we can tell you with the first round, technical knockout, Eduardo Silva defeats Eligio Senna. The video, you can actually view the video if you go to Sal Gomez's Facebook page. He gives his thoughts on the night, and in that stream, somebody shared the video. Eligio walked down Eduardo. Eduardo was able to change who was against the ropes, put Senna on those ropes, started to unload with shots. A right hand, it looks like, to the body. And Senna also at the same time seems to go back to bounce against the ropes, and in an awkward manner, hyperextends his right knee, hits the ground. Looks like he grabs his knee for a second and is then down in pain. Does not beat the 8 count. Whether it's injury, whether it was the punch, it looked like the punch led to the body movement that caused the injury. A huge victory for the Berlin kid who went down to Clovis, fought their hometown warrior, fought the favorite, a guy with a lot of big expectations, Eligio Senna, from his amateur career. A big win, a big shocking upset victory for Eduardo Silva. A lot of people were doubting it. A lot of people are mad about how it happened. I think it's a clean victory. I think that if you have an injury that was caused, again, from a landed strike, then it's as good as that strike causing the injury. A big win for Eduardo. We now move on to the Jackson Wink Fight Night 3 taking place at Isleta on June 2nd. That's going to be the next upcoming local event. Then we still got June 16th, where Wrecking Crew Promotions is promising us 3 WBC title fights. You have Route 66 Casino the following weekend, June 23rd, playing host to Legacy Boxing Promotions, Route to Glory 2, Bad Blood, Christian Cabral versus Josh Pitbull Torres in the main event for a New Mexico State welterweight title. The following weekend, American Fight League presents Southwest Brawl 8 in Las Cruces at the Las Cruces Convention Center. Ortega Grotto in the main event. Same night, up at Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino, you have Jess Martinez, Henry Barahona in the main event of Jackson's MMA Series 25. So a lot going on here on the local scene. There was a lot that took place this weekend. The UFC was fun. Bellator was fun. We know where they're going. Glory was action-packed. We had a ton of local action, and can't forget to also shout out that there was the amateur action where I know we had victorious fighters from Latrell Yee MMA, Joseph Tapia getting a first-round TKO event. TKO in the Thai Night MMA Night event presented by Tremco MMA and the US AKA, which took place out in Edgewood. So there's a ton of stuff locally, nationally, some controversy. Amanda Nunes is dominant. It really, with that title defense, that was something special. Ryan Bader waxing King Mo, I really do think just clears out the light heavyweight division, even though it was a heavyweight contest. King Mo going down to middleweight. Can't wait to see what he's able to make from that move. Pro Fighters League 3 was announced. Jake Shields in the main event. You know that one's going to be a grappling, technical masterpiece from him once again, or an ugly brawl on the feet. Recently got the opportunity to talk with undefeated featherweight from Factory X, Yusuf Salal. That is up. Also here on the YouTube channel, Caged Minds MMA Show. Keep up with CagedMinds.com. We're going to be talking with fighters from the Jackson Wink Fight Night 3 event as much as possible. And we already have that wonderful interview from the press conference up with Josh the Destroyer Montoya. So check that one out. Get in the mood for some MMA action here locally June 2nd. A shout out to Mac 10, Edwin Ruiz. Hit the like button when you check them out on Facebook. That's MMA CK10 from Mac 10. The I Got Your Back anti-bullying campaign. Edwin giving a bunch of support to a bunch of combat sports athletes. Perez Fighting System. El Hurricane Hector Munoz. Ray Viza. Supported myself and Sal Gomez. We really do thank you and appreciate it. Want to give that love back. If you guys can help us out, go over to their page and hit the like button. You could do the same going over the Caged Minds Combat Sports News Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Caged Minds MMA. That's CAGEDMINDS. Thanks for hitting the play button this week. And on one more note, as I was about to run away from you guys, no show next week, going on vacation for a week.